Rosie takes a stand. Rosie is an SR-USA class lavender tank engine. She loves to work really hard, especially with her friend Thomas. One morning, Rosie was working at the coal depot. She was very happily shunting the troublesome trucks into place to be pulled by the bigger engines all around Sodor. Diesel rolled in with a skill. "Hey, Stinky Steamy, what are you doing?" "Just organizing these freight cars, Diesel, so it's easier for the big engines to take." "That is just silly, Rosie. Just biff and bosh 'em. You really don't know how to shunt like a proper engine." Rosie felt ashamed and a little cross. "But Diesel, this organizing method is working for me. It really gets the job done." "Oh, Rosie, you are the silliest Steamy I've ever seen. Stay aside and let the really experienced shunting Diesel do the work." The trucks didn't like being shunted this way either and began to growl. "Oh, quiet, you dizzy trucks. I'm trying to work here." Rosie decided to ignore Diesel's disrespect and have a better outlook the next day. But the very next day, Diesel was still causing mayhem. "Trucks, trucks, silly, stinky trucks." Rosie was trying her best to hold in her crossness and stay out of Diesel's workspace. "Rosie, why aren't you helping me?" "Well, because you don't like the way I shunt the coal trucks, Diesel. I figured I'd let you do your own shunting method." "That doesn't mean you can't help me. I'm beginning to think you're as lazy as Dennis." Rosie was now really cross, but still tried to keep calm. Right then and there, Thomas entered.
"Rosie, Diesel, Sir Thomas Head needs you to bring a big batch of Colton's steamworks. He needs it delivered by tea time."
"We're on it, Thomas." Diesel, can I help out now?" "Finally! Lavender Lady, just shunt those 2 coal trucks next to me. I'd figure only to give you so little, since you can't shunt good at all." Rosie had finally lost her temper. She became so furious, she shunted the coal trucks down the line and slammed right into Diesel. He fell right into the coal heap. "Rosie, help! Help! Those silly trucks just pushed me right into the coal." But Rosie was so shocked, she stayed still.
I was supposed to do something, like shunt some coal trucks, and I forgot. I was playing with Paxton, and I heard this loud bang. Is everyone okay? That is a good question, Sidney.
In entered a very angry Sir Topham Hatt. "Sir, it wasn't my fault. Those coal trucks over here, they just smashed right into me. I think Rosie might have seen what happened."
Well then, Rosie, tell me what happened here.
Rosie feared telling the truth, so she made the bad decision to lie. "It was Sidney, sir. He was playing around the coal pits with Paxton, and he smashed those 2 trucks really hard and just chuffed away."
Sidney, is this true? Well, sir, I can't really remember why am I at the coal depot anyway, nor remember what I was doing. Oh, Sidney, you and your lack of memory have caused much confusion and delay today. Diesel is going to have to stay in his pit because Harvey is on the mainland. Rocky is being repaired, and there are no breakdown cranes available. And as for you, Sidney, I have no choice but to ground you and send you back to the Diesel works. Sir, is this really necessary? I'm sorry, Thomas, but it must be done, and I applaud Rosie for telling the truth.
Gulped, knowing she did the exact opposite.
I'm sorry, Diesel. I vow from this moment forward never to allow anything like this to happen.
And he puffed sadly away. Sidney was at his berth in the Diesel works, looking quite glum. In came Edward.
Sidney, what are you doing here? We're supposed to be taking a goods train to Onslow End this afternoon. Sorry, Edward, but you're gonna have to do it yourself. Myself? But why? I think I might have caused Diesel to get stuck in a coal pit, so Sir Trouble had to grounded me. That's too bad, Sidney. Well, I guess I will just have to grease up my wheels and get ready for a long journey.
Back at the depot, Thomas and Rosie were shunting more cars.
I feel really bad for Sidney, Rosie. All he was trying to do was make his job fun, but Diesel wound up hurt in the end.
Rosie decided to tell the truth. Thomas, it wasn't Sidney who caused Diesel's accident. It was me.
What? How?
Diesel was teasing me all day and yesterday, and I couldn't hold in my anger any longer. So I just pushed those two coal trucks right into him, and that is why he's stuck there now.
That's horrible what Diesel did to you, Rosie, but putting the blame on Sidney was not a good decision. He was grounded for no reason.
Then I will have to put this right. But it was too late. Edward was coming through the depot with his long goods train.
I try so hard to pull this train myself. It is just so difficult. Edward, do you need help? I'm trying, Thomas.
But the trucks decided to be even more troublesome and started to push and shove Edward.
No, trucks, no!
It's too late. They shoved Edward. He uncoupled and went flying down the rails.
Edward, try to apply your brakes.
Edward did, but the rails were quite slippery and he couldn't get a grip. He was heading straight towards Diesel. What? Edward, stop! Edward stopped right in front of Diesel. Edward, this is just far too close for me. The Topham Hatt came to inspect the havoc on board Sidney, who was the only Diesel available for work.
Oh, what happened? Well, you grounded Sidney with all due respect, and because of that, I had to take that goods train myself. The trucks were awfully troublesome and it pushed me so hard, I landed right near this coal pit, and I see Diesel is here as well.
All of this trouble was making Rosie even more guilty, and she finally spoke up. Sir, it was me. I was the one who pushed Diesel into the coal pits, not Sidney. I became furious when Diesel was mocking my shunting methods, so I pushed the cars right into him. I didn't want to get into trouble, since Sidney had no idea why he was even at the coal depot, I made up a story that he caused Diesel's demise, and now, because of my lie, Edward is also hurt.
Rosie, I'm happy you finally spoke up, but lying is never the answer to solving a problem. If you had told me that Diesel was being disrespectful, I would have sent him to his sheds. I am the controller of this railway, and I am the only one that decides punishments.
Rosie understood and wanted to make things right. Sir, if you would allow me, can I help Edward and Diesel get back on the rails?
That's very kind of you, Rosie, but you can't pull both of them out yourself.
Well, could Thomas and Sidney help me?
Rosie, I would be honored. Sidney, could you? Yes, of course. What exactly is happening again?
Soon, Rosie, Thomas, and Sidney had gotten Edward and Diesel back on the rails and got the goods train delivered to Ardsdale End before day's end. Thank you, Thomas and Sidney, for your help, even after all of my troublemaking.
That's what friends are for, Rosie. Yes, of course, Rosie.
Then, Diesel entered. Hey, Rosie, come on, let's... Diesel thought about his statement. Let's all work together, as a team.
Oh, no, without a senior engine, my friends.
And they all chuffed away to have fun in the coal pits. The end.